Hello, I'm Roisin Ni Chleirigh with the Irish Political Roundup, and I'm out and about again. This time we are outside Bushwells Hotel just outside the corridors of Para of Leinster House. I'm up here at the press conference of Spoil Your Vote, which will be starting shortly. But before that, I bumped into the one and only Una McGurk. Una McGurk, you're very welcome back to the Irish Political Roundup.
Thank you very much, Roisin.
A week before the election, and people will be going out voting. Any updates on this election or anything that's happening here?
Yes, there has been an interesting development, Roisin, which your viewers and listeners may not be aware of, and that is the fact that Dr. Cora Stack, who was one of the candidates who was seeking a nomination for the presidential election and did not succeed because she didn't get any votes from the county councillors, just like so many others, has brought a challenge to the High Court, a case which was heard last Tuesday before Judge Heslin, in which she is seeking to challenge the constitutionality of the decision of the two party leaders to impose a whip on their members in the county councils to prevent them from voting for any of the independent candidates. Now, as some people will be aware, Micheál Martin, the leader of Fianna Fáil, imposed a covert whip. It wasn't done in writing. And Simon Harris imposed an overt whip. It was done in writing. So the net effect of this was that none of the candidates who were seeking election or seeking a nomination so that they could run in the election, in fact, succeeded. And on this basis, Dr. Stack sought to bring a challenge in the High Court, contesting the constitutionality of the actions by the party leaders in preventing their members from voting for these candidates. Now, she was supported in that action by a number of other candidates who also had the same result. The net effect of all of this is that the decision by Judge Heslin will not be given until the day before polling, which is next Thursday. It's the 23rd of the 10th. It's the 23rd of October. So given the fact that the date of the decision is very close to polling, I think people can perhaps read a lot into that. So on the basis that the election will still be continuing, I think it's very important that people protest their disenchantment with this government in relation to the election, which has really turned into something of a fiasco at this stage. And the best way to do that is for them to spoil their vote. Now, a spoiled vote is a vote. It is, in fact, a vote that is counted, contrary to what many people think. And the best way to spoil your vote is simply to ensure that you do not put any numbers beside the names of the three individuals on the ballot paper, and that you write something on the ballot paper itself. You can write your own name, you can write the name of a candidate of your choice, or you can write Mickey Mouse, anything you want to do to spoil the vote. But remember that a spoiled vote counts as a vote, and it is a perfect way to make your views known to the government and the establishment about the manner in which they have conducted this election. And if anyone has any concerns or doubts about the fact that maybe it's illegal or maybe it's not appropriate that they should do that, I want to give you a quote from a very eminent person, a very eminent jurist, and a former member of the Supreme Court, and someone who is now the chair of the Electoral Commission, who is none other than the Honourable Miss Justice Marie Baker. And she made a comment, and I'm going to quote it as follows. I'm going to read it to you. She made this in response to the issue of spoiled votes in the 2024 European elections on the 27th of June of last year of 2024. And she stated as follows: there will be a protest vote and absolutely people's right to do that. I want to repeat that, and absolutely people's right to do that. There is no intention to take away that right or to stop it in any way. So that particular quote comes directly from the Honourable Miss Justice Marie Baker, who is the chair of the Electoral Commission. So there is nothing wrong with having a spoiled vote, and in fact it is really a good way to make your protest known to the government.
Una McGurk, what do you think should happen now?
Well, what I think should happen now, really, ideally, is given the problems that we're facing, especially with the fact that a candidate who has purported to withdraw from the election is still on the ballot paper, namely Jim Gavin. I think what really needs to happen now is that the Minister for Local Government, James Brown, should make an order under the Presidential Election Act, given the particular circumstances pertaining to Jim Gavin being on the electoral ballot and the fact that his transfers can affect the outcome of the other two candidates, and that in so many respects it's not appropriate. So he could make an order, any kind of an order, it's under the 1992 Act, and in so doing he could discontinue the election and we could start again. This would not affect the nominations of the two existing candidates. And in that vacuum, the Presidential Commission could be appointed to take over the role of the President when his term expires on the 11th of November. And I think this would be a very appropriate thing to do. And what could be done is that in the interregnum, if the election was discontinued, that legislation could be brought forward to implement a new process with regard to the selection of candidates or the nomination of candidates for the presidency. At the moment, as everyone knows, under Article 12 of the Constitution, there are only two ways in which candidates can be nominated. One is by the support of 20 members of the Oireachtas, the Seanad or the Dáil, and the second way is by support from 4 county councils or boroughs. Now, there was an all-party Oireachtas committee recommendation made 27 years ago in 1998, and this committee were very concerned about the fact that the process was really not very democratic and was very restrictive. So they recommended that there should be legislation brought forward to amend the Constitution so that there could be 3 new methods whereby people who wanted to seek a nomination to run in the election could do so. So the first one is that they must get the votes of no less than 10 members of the Dáil or Seanad, or alternatively 4 county councils or 4 boroughs, or thirdly, which is very, very interesting recommendation, they could get the votes of no less than 10,000 members of the public who are entitled to vote on the voting register. So this would make the process so much more democratic. And if the election was either postponed or discontinued, there is this option for the government to bring forward this legislation, to have a referendum, to regularise the process and to make it much more democratic. And I think this would be very significant, and it would help to allay the very significant public disquiet that has arisen with regard to this particular election, Roisin.
Well, Una McGurk, we wait in anticipation to see what develops polling stations and at the account centres as to what will happen and within the legal system.
Okay, thank you, Roisin.